Hey everyone, Jay here. This is smarthelping.com. I've got a pretty awesome template here. It's called the SaaS CFO dashboard, year-to-date analysis. So it's pretty dynamic. I've tried to make the data entry as simple as possible. Each month you just enter key data points for the company, and you've got all these different charts and visuals that display. So first things first, if you're a SaaS CFO, you want to focus on the most important things, obviously, so you can make decisions that have the greatest effects. So what's most important for a software as a service company? Their MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue. So here we can see these bars right at the top in this chart are showing your monthly recurring revenue for each of your three different pricing types. This template is set up for up to three. You don't have to use them all. You could just use one or just two of them. If you had to add more, like there's a lot of customizations that might be needed here. And for those kinds of things, I do offer custom modeling work at my regular billable rate. You can go check out the site for more on that under the request tab. But in general, I feel like having three is going to fit the most amount of cases without having too much. Like you don't want to have like six different MRR types and have to model all that. And, it might work for 10% of SaaS companies, but it's going to turn off, the other 90% that have three or less pricing tiers. So point is we have MRR, which is going to be tracked, and it's going to track it over a 12-month period, all these different metrics, and I'll go through them all. And you could change the year here. So I could say 2025, 2026, 2020, any year, and it's going to look at this data and give you the correct information. I'm going to go through the entering data in these columns. It's pretty simple. The main thing you need to know is just on the date, enter the first day for each month. And you just enter, for each month, you just enter these data points. And that's enough. And then you can look at historical data um, over different time periods. You can also, if you wanted to see non-fiscal years, you could manually change the start date. So I could say, start on March 1st, 2024, and it'll just show you from, oops, I put 2023, and it'll show you the 12 months starting in March 2024. So you can have this be any start month if you want to override it. Otherwise, if you use the base version, it's just you enter the year here and you can see the year-to-date information. You can also enter some goals here for the ends of each columns for the different MRR types, customer counts, customers added, churn, all kinds of stuff. But let's stick to the top section first. So we've got our year selected. There's data in here. So now I can see, okay, what's my monthly churn, or what's my monthly churn rate is the line. This is your average monthly churn. And what's your MRR? You want to have the MRR going up to some goal, and you want to keep your churn rate to some level, low, hopefully under, monthly, hopefully average under 4% or something like that would be good. Okay, you've also got key metrics up here. So what's the most important things for a SaaS to look at outside of churn and MRR? Well, what's your average customer lifetime value? What's the average customer life? What's the average revenue per user? What's your loan to value or lifetime value relative to the customer acquisition cost? So this is showing you, okay, what does it take to get a customer in the door? And then once they're in, what's their value? What's the ratio between those? So here, 4.8, it's saying that the customer is worth 4.8 times their cost. You've got your average customer acquisition cost, your average monthly churn rate, and then you've also got a burn calculation here to look at the average cash flow. If it's negative, your current cash position in the bank, and you can see your runway as well. Up here, we've also got year-to-date total revenue by pricing tier or by MRR type. And so that'll show you the kind of the proportion of where you're getting most of your MRR and how much it is relative to the other streams if you have more than one. If you had just one, it would just be one pie. So moving down, we have MRR by type. So this is just taking the monthly recurring revenue at each month. So this is going to be and we have annual recurring revenue based on what the total monthly recurring revenue is at that point. So it's just taking that times 12. And you could do the MRR goal here. So by the end of the year, you're hoping to get your MRR on each pricing tier or each MRR tier to these different levels. And then here's the total goal, 505 here. You can see in 2024, we're short of that. But it's just a good comparison to see, okay, here's where we, let's say you had I think in 2026, I have a partial year. Yeah, so here you can see it's got the actuals, and then here's our goal. Well, in this case, we're way above it, but I've just entered arbitrary data into this. You would just clear all this out. And there's no formulas here. This is all raw data entry each month. So you would clear this out and then start entering your own information for each data point. And then your dashboard will automatically populate. So first section here, we did MRR and ARR. We've also got count. So this is your cumulative count of customers at the end of each month. So total active customers by tier and total. You can have your goal here. This is customers added per month, and then the total added, and then also the goal here. So total goal of acquired customers versus what you actually acquired for the year. Then we've got churn, so the amount of customers you've lost in each month for each tier, and the churn rate. Now the churn rate, I'm just taking the amount lost divided by the total count of customers. And the average monthly churn rate and your goal. We've got average revenue per user, which this is a calculation just looking at the total users or customers and the total revenue from those customers. And we're doing a division problem to get to this data here. And then you've got the weighted average across all customers and the totals averages for the year and your goal. We've also got customer acquisition costs per period, which is going to take your total sales and marketing against your total new customers and the goal for that. And then we've got some key profit and loss data. So EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. This is basically showing how the company operations are doing. Then we've got cash flow, which can be different from EBITDA depending on if you've got debt, if you're doing other CapEx stuff or raising money. This will show the total cash flow change per period and the total for the year. You've got bank balance. So this is going to show you what your bank balance was over time, and sales and marketing costs. And this was input so you can see how to figure out customer acquisition costs. And these are, I believe, the most important things for a general SaaS company to be watching, and the ratios in between the different metrics. Down here, I did an annual summary so we can calculate some cool ratios. I did the rule of 40, which is saying that if you take your year-over-year revenue growth rate plus your EBITDA margin, and they should not be less than 40%. And that's kind of a balance to say, well, if you're growing at 60%, but your profit margin's negative 20%, well then you're still at 40, so that's okay. And that means you're spending a lot to grow, so you're accepting a certain amount of operational loss in order to get that growth. Let's say if your EBITDA margin was negative 50% and your annual growth was only 20, now that's going to be negative 30. So that's or I can't remember. I just got lost in the numbers, but anything less than 40% is considered a little bit more unhealthy, and anything over 40% is considered healthy. It could also be, pretty balanced. Let's say you had a 20% annual revenue growth, and your gross profit margin was 20%. So not a huge, well, relatively speaking, a fairly even revenue growth rate and margins that are fairly even. So if one goes up, the other one can go down, but to a certain level. And if they're both lower, they can be low to a certain level as long as they add up to over 40%. So that metric is pretty good to track. So we have our total revenue and EBITDA added up per year, and you can see the revenue growth of that, and then the EBITDA margin and the resulting total, which you want over 40%. Then we have more charts down here, customer count by type, monthly churn by type, customer count actual versus goal, MRR actual versus goal. Now for this 12 months, we were way over, but if we went back to 2024, you can see a little bit clearer. Okay, here's our goal. We didn't get to it here. And this is good also for year to date. You can see like as you're building up to this goal, like how close are you getting for total MRR and customer count. All right. I mean, that's everything on this page. I believe I covered. The whole point of this is just, okay, I want to look at something quickly and see where are my most important numbers, how have I performed in the past, what different time periods am I looking at. You could also copy this. So like if I wanted to make a copy, I right click it and choose dashboard, make a copy. And I can show, let's say I wanted to show 2024 here, and this I wanted to show 2025. So you can compare, different years in different tabs if you wanted, and you can have as many as you wanted. There's not a whole lot of um, the spreadsheet is not that heavy, so you can do this for all kinds of years. Like probably 10 years would be completely fine to have if you wanted that, and you can compare them. And it'll show you the key metrics. All the key metrics are just based on the data within the 12-month period. And the averages therein. Okay, so that's the dashboard. I believe I covered everything here. The actual data entry, so like I said, for the date, you just want to make sure this is the first day of whatever month. And then for all these other things, you're just going to look at your system and say, okay, how many active customers do I have at the end of the month? How many customers did I acquire for that month? What was my total revenue for this customer type? What was my total customer churn? Now, if you just had one tier or just wanted to report on your total customers, no matter what tier, you can do that. That's fine. You would just enter, your total active customers, added, MRR, and customers lost, and you could ignore the rest of customer type 2 and customer type 3. You would still then put your monthly sales and marketing spend, EBITDA, cash flow, and bank balance, all as hard-coded entries. So if you didn't use these, that's fine. You can, let's say we cleared these out. This updates to only show those two, and then you can, if you're only going to ever report on that, you can just delete the two, type 2 and 3, or whatever rows you're not using, you can delete, and that would be fine. Just make sure you delete all of the type 2 and 3s across here, and that's no problem. Chart data is just some extra helper data. You could adjust the chart axis titles or labels with these as you change these inputs. Let me undo that real quick so you can see those inputs are affecting the pie chart, the annual data, and then monthly, and then some of this data here with the monthly actual versus goal. Alrighty. Well, if you want to use this, I think it's very universal for any kind of SaaS business to look at their key metrics and measure them and track them over time. I'm only going to charge $45 for this template. It's a one-time fee. You can buy it. Links in the description box below. Once it's downloaded, all of these formulas and the spreadsheet is unlocked and editable, so you can change it however you want. If we go over here, let's see, to the home page of smarthelping.com, we are at SaaS. I'll probably put it under the SaaS calculators. I don't really have a general section. I have a lot of different software as a service models, full financial models. Um, so we'll probably put it in this section. It's also included in this bundle, obviously, and it will be included in the all models bundle. If we go here, download all templates, it'll be in this included in here as well. If you need custom work, go to request tab at the top. You can email me. Generally work in 2 to 3 hour increments, depends on what customizations you need. My rate, if you want to hire me, is $195 an hour, which could change over time. It'll probably be this for at least a couple more years. So you could select the amount of time you want and let me know what you want to change. Alrighty, that's all I got for you. Like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.